Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking some absolutely fascinating insights about the costs of storing paper medical records off-site. It's a super common assumption in the healthcare management world that just grabbing those huge stacks of paper documents and moving them to an outside warehouse is this brilliant space-saving solution. It seems like a quick win, right? You clear out a room, and boom, the problem is solved. But as we're going to see from the data today, that assumption, yeah, it might actually just be the very beginning of a long-term financial nightmare.
Okay, let's dive into this. Is moving these documents out really solving the problem, or is it just kind of shifting it out of sight? The source material makes a really compelling argument here. It suggests that doing this actually opens the floodgates to massive, constantly accumulating operational expenses. So instead of a simple one and done fix, it's actually the start of this deep, complex financial drain.
To map this all out, we're going to use the iceberg metaphor to visually map our descent through four hidden layers of escalating operational costs. Layer 1, space costs. Layer 2, equipment costs. Layer 3, transport costs. And Layer 4, personnel costs. Let's begin our descent at the surface layer. Layer 1, space costs. When a hospital decides to store records off-site, they usually face two main choices. And honestly, neither of them is cheap. Option 1 is building their own warehouse. This requires a massive injection of capital expenditure, or CAPEX. We're talking about absolutely huge upfront costs for land and construction. Okay, so what about option 2? Renting a warehouse. Well, while renting might look cheaper at first glance, it actually traps the hospital in a never-ending cycle of operational expenditure, or OPEX. You're locked into monthly rent, insurance premiums, and constant facility maintenance. The reality is, whether you build or rent, you're trapped in a massive, long-term financial obligation. But here's what's truly paradoxical and honestly kind of mind-blowing about how these documents are treated. These aren't just stacks of paper you can throw into a dark, dusty room and forget about. Because they are confidential medical records, they're incredibly fragile. The source points out that these papers demand the exact same 24/7 VIP care as actual human patients. Think about it. The facility requires strict temperature and humidity controls just to prevent the paper from degrading. It needs regular pest control so bugs don't literally eat the files. You absolutely need advanced leak and fire prevention systems, and because of strict medical privacy laws, you need 24/7 CCTV and dedicated security personnel on site. All of this money and effort just to keep paper comfortable and safe. Crazy, right? Moving deeper, we hit layer 2, equipment costs. And this brilliantly illustrates the concept of a cost center, a department or function that costs money to operate but doesn't directly generate any revenue. Because once you have the building, well, you've got to furnish it. And we aren't just talking about a few shelves. We're talking about heavy-duty steel cabinets designed to hold literally tons of paper. You need thousands of labels, boxes, and specialized carts. And here is the real catch. This isn't a one-and-done purchase. As patient volumes grow year over year, the paper trail multiplies right along with them. This means the need for all this physical equipment just expands infinitely, draining funds without generating a single drop of revenue. Let's keep going down to layer 3, transport costs. The very moment you move files off-site, you create what the source calls an invisible conveyor belt. Because, obviously, doctors still need to see these files. So you have to constantly move them back and forth across the city. First, there's the dispatch from the warehouse, then navigating city traffic, arriving at the hospital, and finally delivering it to the ward. This means you are burning through a daily logistics budget. You're paying for fuel every single day. You're paying driver wages. You are managing complex, headache-inducing delivery schedules. And worst of all, your vehicles are just sitting in city traffic simply to get a piece of paper from point A to point B. The tragic irony here is that hospitals end up utilizing highly expensive transport trucks merely to ferry paper back and forth. They are essentially reduced to the role of simple hospital ward carts, making multiple trips a day just to ensure a file is on a doctor's desk in time for an appointment. This is just a profound waste of vital resources, or propyagon.
Now we reach the deepest, most expensive, and most critical layer of the iceberg, layer 4, personnel costs.
What looks like a systematic process from the outside is actually a massive drain on human labor. Hospital staff are literally forced to spend their shifts numbering and indexing physical pages. They have to manually log every single borrow and return in a physical ledger. They spend countless hours just walking through rows of cabinets, physically searching for files, and sorting and coordinating the logistics of getting that file onto a truck. These are heavy, manual burdens placed squarely on the shoulders of hospital staff, who are essentially forced to manage paper instead of patients. And the data reveals a truly terrifying reality here. 10 to 30 minutes. That is the absolute minimum amount of time wasted searching for just a single misplaced file. Sometimes, if a file is misfiled or borrowed without a log being updated, it can take hours or even days to track down. And in the medical field, time equals life. Wasting half an hour looking for a piece of paper poses a very real, immeasurable risk to patient treatment and overall hospital efficiency.
So, the crucial point is really captured by this idea of an operational tragedy. Think about it. A hospital's most valuable asset is its human capital, its highly trained healthcare professionals. By relying on offsite paper storage, hospitals are pulling these incredibly talented individuals away from direct patient care, essentially forcing them to become bureaucratic paper chasers. Instead of focusing on patient outcomes, their energy is totally consumed by managing stacks of paper.
Which brings us to our conclusion: solve or shift.
We have to leave you with this really powerful question today. Is moving records off-site a genuinely cost-effective strategy, or is it what the source material calls a paingyeop, a silent threat? Is this silent threat quietly swallowing up the hospital's vital resources? It's sapeyakorn, trapeyakgorn. It's definitely something every healthcare administrator needs to seriously rethink. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this deep dive helps you see beneath the surface of the paper trail.